How is it going, everyone? The Trout91 here for another Call of Duty video. Thank you very much for the warm welcome back on the last video. If you missed it and want to know exactly where I've been and why I haven't posted, that's what I touched on in the last video. Feel free to check that one out for yourself. So obviously the Black Ops 4 has been announced. The details have been dropped. A lot of gameplay footage has come out, and just from my initial thoughts and watching it myself, I've drawn some conclusions from it, which I think that I would like to share with you guys, and just open a discussion, open a forum of thoughts for anyone who might be interested in talking about it or listening to my thoughts and expressing their own. I'm always interested in what you guys have to say about Call of Duty and games in general. Now, before I get started, I do want to emphasize this is my opinion only. This is from what I've seen. And I say this from a positive place. I am a fan of the Call of Duty franchise. It's why I buy the game every year, because I love what it does. I love where it goes, and everything that it does I support 100%. And I just like to, feedback some ideas, even if no one of note actually listens to them. It's not out of spite. It's not from an evil or rude place. It is just my general thoughts and feelings about it. So, getting into it, as soon as I saw it, I had almost like a flashback to when I first got to see Modern Warfare 3 and when I first got to play it at Call of Duty XP. I felt like I was playing a revamped version of Modern Warfare 2. Now, there's many ways you can take that. You can take that in the good and you can take that in the bad, but that was what I felt like playing Modern Warfare 3, and I think a lot of people can say that it was a very similar game, and it felt very similar to Modern Warfare 2 for many, many different reasons. I think that's a similar concept with Black Ops 4, and I think that's probably what they were going with here, is that it feels a lot like Black Ops 3. It's a very similar game. I think a lot of the characters, the models, the sounds have been reused for the purposes of Black Ops 4's multiplayer. Now, you can take that in the good sense that, as I did initially, saying that, we've got a solid game coming here. I really like Black Ops 3. I've got a good game to look forward to. It had a fantastic engine. There were a lot of concepts in Black Ops 3 that were really good. It looks like they've changed some of the other things. They removed things like jetpacks that a lot of people weren't really digging, and we started to go back to this boots on the ground style of Call of Duty again, which is nice. But you can also take it in the bad sense that, what have they really added into this game in some sense? It doesn't feel like they have introduced much that has really changed the game and really become new. It feels like they've gotten, I don't want to say lazy, but it seems like the game has almost been recycled for reselling. And I guess you've now got to buy another game that is only slightly changed. Now, I will counter that argument with the fact that they have dropped things like the campaign to replace them with things like the Battle Royale, with zombies, which I think are two areas. Obviously, zombies is a killer for Call of Duty at the moment. They are smashing it. It's one thing that I love about it. I don't even play it that much. I'm more interested in the story. I know people love their zombies in Call of Duty. And I think this Battle Royale phase that has gone on in gaming community and the gaming world as a general is a big market for them that I 100% support, and I hope it really takes off. That blackout mode should be epic. So I can understand why maybe the multiplayer has taken a backseat in that sense, and they haven't put too much money and time, well, maybe not too much, but maybe as much as they have done in the past into those areas, because they know that there are more successful parts of Call of Duty, especially from a Treyarch's point of view. But this is kind of how I felt with Modern Warfare Remastered, I really was in a phase where I wanted to go back to boots on the ground. I wanted a more familiar COD, a more traditional COD, something I was familiar with, that's simple, it's the job done, it does exactly what you want. I think we wanted that with World War II as well, but what actually happened is that it didn't quite hit the nail on the head. There were things that were lacking about it that obviously didn't quite hit the mark, and I think that with Modern Warfare Remastered, once the nostalgia wore off and once the cracks started to appear and you realised that there wasn't really much different about this Call of Duty than what you had played a few years ago, and I had obviously played so much COD 4 that I really wasn't getting anything new out of it. I was just replaying the same game with a slightly different engine, so I hadn't really gained anything out of that. So I guess that's kind of where I stand as well with Black Ops 4 as a whole. And what I love about CODs in general is, you know, you almost don't have to be very tactical or smart about what you do. You don't have to roll in a big team. You can kind of go in solo as a lone wolf and still cause an absolute rampage in a lot of solo lobbies. And I don't know whether I feel like that is kind of what is happening with COD, whether they're taking that away, because things like specialists and being in charge of, you know, regenning your own health, it kind of seems like they're taking away that solo aspect and making it so that you are now having to work more of a team. It's that fast-paced, frantic, chaotic, and, you know, almost solo action that makes me want to play Call of Duty, that draw to something like Call of Duty. Although I love it as a team game and I love it as an esport, which is all about team play, that's kind of how I feel about public games, and I'm not too sure that's quite where the mark is for this this Call of Duty. Now, going over the positives of this game, yeah, like I said, basically very similar to Black Ops 3, which is great. It had a great engine. There was a lot in it, diverse weapons. I think the characters and the specialists were pretty decent as well. You know, you got boots on the ground. Predictable recoil's nice. It's going to help separate the best from the worst, I would say. Just the fact that, you know, you haven't got these random recoil patterns that might get a lucky kill here. It seems like the gunplay might be a little bit more skillful than it has been in previous Call of Duties. That longer time to kill is always a big bonus, because it just means, you know, you've got to hold your aim for a lot better. You've got to be a lot smarter and a lot more accurate with your gun than you have in previous Call of Duty titles. The fact that there's like upgraded attachments and specific attachments to guns, making those classes and those guns more unique, I think is fantastic. Being able to diversify different classes and different guns from each other is definitely something that has kind of been a problem in previous Call of Duties. You know, like ARs being able to do SMG jobs, SMGs being able to do AR jobs. So you really want to make sure that every gun has its purpose and is useful in each situation you find yourself in. Tryout map design's awesome. From the few maps I saw, they looked great. Like, they had real purpose, and you could play with all sorts of different gameplay styles. Really colourful, really interesting, and lots of different avenues to take on all the maps that I saw. Nice to see some old kill streaks in there. I think I saw the AC-130 and the dogs, which is always nice. Get a bit of the nostalgic feel. And I think that Black Ops 3 lacked some really nice and usable kill streaks. I think they were really easy to take down and weren't too practical. You kind of had the low-end score streaks that were useful, and then the middle was not very good, and then you had the high-tier ones that were really fantastic as well, and it wasn't always very common to get those high-tier kill streaks. So I think that if they can revamp those score streaks in general, especially around the middle tier, where I like to play with, will be a real good stuff. And I like the fact they've updated the specialists. I'm not the biggest fan of specialists, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a minute. I do like the fact they've updated them. They've changed a few of how they work. They've given extra abilities, which I think is nice. So it's not exactly a carbon copy of what we've played before. Although there are a lot of familiar abilities that these specialists carry, I like the fact that they've at least, you know, put a bit more thought and given them something more dynamic and more diverse to mix up the gameplay a little bit more. Now, my negatives, which I've listed already, is not really anything too fresh. There's a few minor changes and upgrades to the game as general, like I spoke about in the specialists and a few other bits. But I haven't really seen anything that, you know, gives me the impression that there's much to take away that's going to be really new and game-changing compared to Black Ops 3. I've said there's a lot to take away from the specialists, and I think there's nice upgrades to them. If I was being honest, I'd rather not see them in the game, just because the whole way that the specialists work, it's nice to have this uniqueness and something that will influence the way the game plays and, you know, the classes you select and what's best to go and pair with it as far as a gun and class point of view stands by. But the fact that you can kind of get these free kill streaks and equipment that can really change the face of the game is not something I really enjoy. It was a cool thing to start with in Black Ops 3, but I just feel like it takes away from this real tactical edge and real competitive nature in the game. You know, like, you've worked really hard, you've gone on a massive streak, and then something really silly that is not really awarded to you for being good at the game, it's just kind of given to you after a certain period of time, is not something I'm a big fan of. They've obviously felt that it's going to be big innovation to the game, so they've gone with it. But for me, it's not really something I'm a big fan of. I'm confused by the timeline. I feel like... I think the only other negative I can list is the timeline's a bit weird. The fact that we're set between Black Ops 2 and 3, but it's called 4. But that was just me being a bit nitpicky and a bit weird about it. I think it could be cool to see, you know, how we went from Black Ops 2 to Black Ops 3. And I think maybe that's actually where a campaign would have been really good. And that actually makes me quite interested, because I've seen the past, I've seen the future, and now I'm going to see the in-between and how we got to that kind of stage. So in general, I'm quite optimistic about Black Ops 4. I have this sinking feeling in my stomach that maybe it's not going to be so exciting as we have seen before, at least from a multiplayer standpoint, purely because it looks like something I've already played and already bought in previous times. And then I've got to wait another year for, you know, maybe something fresh, or it might be another situation to Black Ops 4 when we get, like, I don't know, what was it? Infinite Warfare 2, you know? So, there's a lot to take away. I think, regardless of what happens, we're going to have a solid enough Call of Duty. It's going to be a good Call of Duty that will do a job. I don't want to be negative straight off the bat, because obviously I haven't played it. My opinion from when I play it to when we actually get the game released and when we've played it for a little while is always going to be different to now. But I think we're in for a year of a solid Call of Duty. People are going to enjoy playing it. If you played a lot of Black Ops 3, you might find yourself getting a little bit tired of what feels like a similar product to what you've already played. And I think that, you know, the guys over in Call of Duty kind of just got to take that on the chin. But what's redeeming is the fact that we have got things like Zombie. We have got things like Blackout Battle Royale mode. So I think regardless of what happens as far as the multiplayer is concerned, you're going to find yourself in a position where you are going to be playing this game for a solid amount of time. I won't really say how long you're going to play it for, but I think you're going to get a good few months out of this game at the very least. And I think it's going to be worth picking up. That's my initial thoughts and feelings on it. I'd be curious to know what you guys think at home, what your take on this game is, and what you have felt so far, whether it's going to be one that you pick up, whether you played Black Ops 3 at all. I know there's some people who didn't even bother. Be interested to know what you think and what you're feeling. Hope to see you for the next video, and I'll see you later. Peace out.